This is Jenna Afgar with David Roberts, and we're here with the
Morning.
business.
Is it morning?
No,
This afternoon. It's been a long day already, yeah.
With Business Growth Network and the Vision Challenge for Day 8. And today we are discussing your audience, and even bigger than that, your tribe. So this is taking on what we did in Day 3. And we chose out your ideal client, and we really got into the importance of really defining that one person, but now we're playing off that ideal client and expanding to that to your entire tribe, your entire audience of who you're talking to every day.
Yeah, I think if you spend some time reflecting on your ideal client, and then I would say expand that thought process as we've kind of laid out in the email here around giving them a personality, giving them attributes, what kinds of things they do, what it is that really, not just, what is their demographic, but how do they behave, what do they like, who do they hang out with,
what do they drink,
yeah, do they drink scotch, or do they drink coffee, or do they drink green juice, yeah. Yeah, it's not one that I'm familiar with that much, but I've seen it. So there are things about that ideal client, but then when you start targeting your messaging, when
That's
you look at
a
it
lot
from a
about it.
marketing standpoint, especially, but interestingly enough, we're always marketing, right? We're always trying to build an audience, and the audience, your tribe, is made up of more than just people that you're wanting to engage as a client.
Directly, yes.
Right, but it's also...
That would be like the networking group we just came from.
Your tribe becomes...
Sorry, weird phone call.
Little phone call again. Becomes those people that are traveling with you. Again, we talk about if anything were possible, what kind of future would you imagine? So, and then we've talked about things that will advance you from up that bridge or from the future.
Catapult you if you've done right.
Right, and so your tribe is a group of people.
Hi, Nicolette.
Hey, Nicolette, how are you? Your tribe is going to be that group of people that are going to be traveling on your journey with you.
Yes.
They're people that are...
And you want to be around.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things we were talking about before we launched the Facebook Live, is if you would imagine that that future, that if anything were possible future, and you said, who's in that picture with me? Obviously, I would hope or assume you have your family, and you have the people that you love today and the people that you care about, and you'd want to take those people, you want them to be there when you get to that if anything were possible place, but also there are people you'll pick up along the way. This becomes, the people that are your tribe. They're the ones that are traveling. Good day from rainy South Africa. Wow, so you're in South Africa. That's pretty.
Other side of the planet.
That's very cool.
Nicole, we met her at a Twilight convention.
Oh, really?
For Caitlin's party, and she was working the event, and we took pictures with her camera.
Awesome.
So she got pictures of all the stars while she worked the event. So
very cool.
Very awesome girl. She spent a good time in America.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining in.
So the Vision Challenge is now global, right? So we're really...
We had one in the Netherlands.
Yeah, we had one in the Netherlands. So, but we're expanding our reach. So anyway, the tribe can be anywhere in the world, right, Nicolette? I mean, it's really...
especially with the internet and social media.
Yeah, so part of it is giving some thought to that, really bearing down, thinking of what they look like, what they, and it doesn't have to be, in this case, a single type of person, but it does have to be pretty focused. You do want to kind of...
If you put them all in the room, you want them to be able to interact and enjoy one another too.
Yeah, but they're not homogenous. I mean, I think it's important to realize that they're not all like little clones. They don't all look like...
No.
Well, hopefully they don't all look like me, but they don't all look like Jenna either.
But there's usually going to be one or two aspects that are really important to them across the board.
Thread.
Yeah. They have to have something that ties them all together.
Yeah, and ties them to you, ties them to your journey, and allows them to align their journey with yours along the way. So that's why this particular exercise is important as you begin to really think beyond just this is the demographic that I'm targeting. This is the specific type of client that I want. And I can imagine being my dream client. But what's the group of people? What's the tribe, the audience that's going to travel with me and going to grow? I mean, again, this is a business growth network. So our idea is that these are things that will, over time, gain momentum, gain traction around this audience. This audience will grow.
I mean, it makes me kind of think of the different cultures in a company. You have a company like EDS where everyone wore specifically blue suits,
right?
Ties, full shoes, trim hair, or you couldn't even get a job there. So if you didn't even show up to the interview like that, you weren't in. And then you have a company culture like Google, who's got a slide in their campus and coffee and food and pods and bean bags. It's a completely different culture, but those are the people, and that's how they work, and that's how they interact with one another. Those are the people you should want to enjoy being around if you're going to work with them.
Right. So it's and again, it depends on your company, depends on what you would envision as that, if anything were a possible world, and the journey from there to today. What is that going to look like? And it can be, if you have employees, it can be, what kind of employees are you attracting, or are you working through? If it's partners, business partners. If you're like me, I've had an organization with 2,800 employees, and as much as I love people, having that employee-employer relationship for me, it can be a little expiring. So my vision and my dream of a tribe is one that's with me because they want to be with me because we have some common threads of belief and value where I'm able to contribute to them. They're looking to me for things, and I'm able to learn from them, and it's a very symbiotic type of relationship, as opposed to, okay, they're hanging out with me because they want a paycheck.
Right. This is true. She actually mentioned that's actually a book I've read. It's by Erin Meyer.
The Culture Map.
Map.
Yeah, it's a good book. Yeah.
That's a great place to start. It has some great input, and I think they have some information on their website, if I remember, where you can download sheets that are helpful. But it also gets into, what are you going to be providing? Like, you cannot provide anything. You cannot provide a website. You cannot provide emails until you know who they're going out to.
Right.
If you're just making blanket marketing messages or blanket emails, or, I mean, every part of this, future thing that you're envisioning, it needs to be targeted, or you're going to end up trying to blanket everything, and you'll do so poorly.
Well, and the thing is, and again, we're not spending a lot of time in this 2-week endeavor we call the Vision Challenge, right? We're not spending a lot of time and energy talking about alignment. Alignment will probably be our next foray after we go.
We still have to figure out how to do that.
Right. Well,
bigger.
Alignment is a very, because it has a lot of the attributes of what we're walking through here, but also it expands to now bringing that tribe in, beginning to.
It's more personal.
Yeah, but it comes into, it's taking your message, your dream story, your vision, and now beginning to bring other people who have their own dream story, their own vision, whether they're in what depending on what role, whether they're your client role, or whether they're in a B2B environment, somebody you're going to provide service, but then they have their own customers, or whether it's in a just you have a supplier role, or if it's a client role. I mean, it could be any number of roles, but they have their own, hopefully have their own dream story. I mean, one of the things we're seeking to do with the Business Growth Network is to have this community of people who have their dream story, their vision. We're all moving,
and
we're
dedicated.
all dedicated to that, and seeking not only alignment, but where we can help each other
on a deeper basis. You get together with these networking groups, and everyone stands up and they give their 30-second pitch, and it's like, okay, but we don't know you.
Right.
We don't know what your values are, your cultures are. How do you fit in? Sometimes your message in 30 seconds does not come across at all.
Right. And because you don't have a common frame of reference, even a common language, to speak of in terms of processing your vision, processing what you're trying to do as a company. It's often hard to, it takes a lot of time and a lot of interactions really to begin to say, hey, there's people that in our meeting today, there was a couple of people there that I said, I really need to
talk to them.
And they've been in the meeting for a year.
Mark was that way.
Yeah.
Normally I'm like, okay, he's got printer ink.
Right.
And then he spoke today and he was like, he has this. And I was like, I know a guy that's all he does is reach out to business owners who want to buy into businesses.
Right.
So it didn't matter to him any other day that he's been here the past year, but today he mentioned it, and now I can help him.
So.
Now, see, okay, Nicolette commented, she said, great leaders are able to choose and align visions and goals of all stakeholders. We were actually talking about this, I think, Monday,
right.
Yesterday, when we were discussing superpowers, and that's David's superpower, that he has the ability to see where everyone is sitting and what their values are and their goals and help mush them together. That is definitely a unique feature.
Right. And that's a great...
Not all leaders have it.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, I can tell, Nicolette, you are probably in the...
That's my text message. Sorry,
okay.
Personal text message is coming in.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I was actually seeing those pop up. But as you say, great leaders involve the entire... We're using the term tribe.
Yeah.
In my world, that tends to be synonymous with stakeholders. Stakeholder is a word that we use in the large corporate America vernacular, and it really is the same. And it really is. The key is, what are you a stakeholder in? In the context of the Vision Challenge, in the context of what we are seeking to achieve, is we are trying to get everybody to be a stakeholder in your dream story, and you to also be a stakeholder in their dream story. And once you achieve, you're not just leading somebody to be a stakeholder in your dream, that's part of it, but really when the most powerful form of leadership and leadership transformation is when they are part of your dream story and they believe that you're part of theirs. That becomes a situation where
symbiotic?
It's very symbiotic, and it's very
good question, by the way, Nicolette.
Yeah, it was awesome. But and again, I'm one of the things you'll find here is this will sound in many respects like a lot of strategic and things having come out of the large consulting space as well as large corporate world. I'm very familiar with a lot of those terms. You'll hear me use them off and on, and Jenna keeps bringing me back down to earth a lot of times, which is an awesome part of our partnership, by the way, because she has always kind of come at this from the very personal business owner vernacular, right? And
well,
so
my favorite ones are small business owners.
Sure.
I like working with the independent startups and the veterans and the moms who are just coming back into the business world at all, but who've never been entrepreneurial before. That's all they can do.
Right.
Because corporate doesn't want them.
Well, and the interesting thing is, the dream here is that's where, in my view, that's where it's at. I mean, it's really with the entrepreneur, the small business owner. The lion's share, was it 80-90% of the businesses are small businesses. They're not the large corporations. They have their own. They have their own way of dealing with all kinds of things. They have their
whole other issues to deal with.
And they have their voice, and they're representing their interests, but it's not necessarily the interests of the entrepreneur, the small business owner, even the individual consumer. And not to say that they're doing it at the expense of the consumer, but that's not, always where they're focused, which is where we're very much closer to home.
Right.
Closer to, can I look in your eyes and see that I've made a difference in your life in some form, as a business owner or as a human being. And so that brings a lot more heart, I think, putting the human back in the machine, so to speak. I mean, corporations do, even though they do have a voice, and there's always the argument about, are corporations people? Corporations are a group of people, but the reality of it is they can lose that. So we're focused on you, we're focused on me, we're focused on Jen, we're focused on what does that dream story look like to you? That's why when you're going through this exercise today, this challenge, if you will, and defining your audience,
what their needs are.
Yeah, it needs to. It's not who do you want in your in this amorphous company, but who do you want in that dream story with you, if anything were possible. What does that tribe look? Who are the people that are helping you? Who are the people that are buying your services or that you're serving in whatever capacity?
And what do they need?
Yeah, and then how are they benefiting? How are their lives changing? What are you seeing as a result of that?
I think the first thing I ever read that was like really spoke to me outside of the military, so this has been like 2004, was what's in it for me.
Oh, yeah.
That every single person on this planet is, when they go to say yes or no to something, they're asking themselves, what's in it for me? They don't care about you, they don't care about your company necessarily, but when you can understand what's in it for me, to the potential employee, to the potential client or partner, then you can start to really build alignments that work in both directions.
You know, actually, and I love doing this interaction with Jenna because she'll always say things. And this is why we started doing this, is because we found that when we were talking through these two things together, we would uncover things that it would trigger things that we really had there. But one of the things that you brought up that's kind of incredible is that's always the case. The what's in it for me. I remember doing these large transitions, outsourcing engagements where we'd bring large groups of people and say, hey, guess what? Today you're not working for this company anymore.
That's a hard day.
You're working for this company. And today your benefits look like this, and tomorrow they're going to look like this. And you know what? When you have those large meetings where you were explaining and you were kind of laying it out and you were trying to be empathetic and you were trying to explain it in a way, and generally speaking, the reaction was pretty tepid. I mean, if not negative, but you know, usually you could come up with the right words, and you could kind of, you know, like even in the political thing, you'd give messages that really kind of tend to make everybody happy, or not really happy-ish, but
keep them calm.
But yeah, but they never really walk away saying, okay, why should I get energized or excited about it? What is it? What's in it for me? And the thing is, only everybody's sitting there when you're doing these things, when we're doing this. And they're saying, okay, I'm hearing what they're saying, but what's in it for me?
Yeah.
And that's part of why this can't begin and end with a one-way or even a two-way discussion or a three-way discussion here, but you've got to get to, okay, I understand that, but what's in it for me? You also have to get to the point where I understand why I think my clients are going to like this.
Yeah.
But I really have to start getting some feedback from them as far as what's in it for me. We'll talk about that as we go forward too, and what that looks like. But you need to start thinking about that today, because you really need to start thinking about your tribe
and how you help them.
Yeah, at the end of the day, not what do they look like to you, but what do you look like to them? What is it that they're getting out of this that...
And money's not always the answer. You can cut somebody a paycheck all day long.
That
doesn't mean they're going to be happy about it.
No, it's in fact...
Even clients, you can make them money, and that's not always enough.
No, in fact, you're right. That's... What is that? That's not the top... Most cases, we always think it's all about the money. But when you look at why people buy...
Why do people need money?
Why do they...
The bigger question.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not at the top of the list. A lot of times it's things that they're afraid of, things that they are looking to impress somebody else. There are other higher needs on their list of needs when they're
there's a hierarchy of needs.
So this is what we're really asking. What are the prompts or the public posting that we're
the public postings
looking
are
for?
My product or service helps my clients by doing this.
Right.
The other one is if you are experience blank, my program or service may be a great option for you. And if you're this particular type of client, we should have coffee, tea, scotch, green juice. That comes from part of the prompts of, even though, what's the preferred drink? Amongst moms, the Starbucks will go a long way. So I've actually seen people like, hey, I will buy you Starbucks. Come sit down and talk with me. You have to put stuff like on scotch down there. If you want to get my husband John or my best friend Joseph, you're much better off going and offering them to a Scotch tasting.
Right.
They will jump up for joy, whereas the Starbucks are like, whatever. So knowing your clients on that deep of a level will really give you the benefit of how do you get them in, how do you pull that group of people you want to be around in. Know those kind of things.
Well, Nicolette mentioned here, which I thought was actually, she's really in a much more succinct way actually getting to what I was saying earlier, in that it is all about relationships. At the end of the day, if you're providing mutual value to the point where you care as much about what they're getting out of the relationship, and they care about what you're getting out of the relationship.
I found it. Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Right.
That's what I was trying to come up with, and I could not remember.
Right. Was that? If you had said Maslow's hierarchy
I
of
could
needs,
not. I kept on saying Pavlov
Yeah.
kept coming to mind. I'm thinking of a dog.
Yeah, it's and that starts at the bottom with your physiological, and then your safety and love and well-being, and
but where do you fit on that?
Right.
How do you provide one of those things to
Right.
your clients? And the more you can focus on those, your sales go up.
And the interesting thing is, if you, and I'm not, this isn't a test, so if you're watching this, you don't have to go look up the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But when you get to the point where you may not be serving, but when your relationship with the people that are on their journey, self-actualization is the top of the hierarchy. You can't get to there until you served all these other things,
the other ones.
or until they feel served. That's why we talk about holistic and everything else. You have to check those boxes off. But for those, if you get to the point where your dream stories align, then you are at that point where you are helping them with their own self-actualization, as well as achieving your own. And there, as Nicolette says, is the relationship is key. If you go after this in a way that you're assuming this is a lifetime, if not an eternal relationship that you're about to embark on with, whether it's your clients or your partners or your customers, if you approach it in that way, you can't go wrong. But to do that, you have to have the answers to these questions that we put out.
But without it, you can go very wrong. So when I talk to marketing clients, one of the classic kind of examples I give is dating, because it's relationship.
Right.
Those ideas work all the way around. When guys are out trying to date and they're in a bar, nobody goes up to the random girl at the bar and was like, "Do you want to see my package?"
Right.
That's a good way to get slapped, kicked out of the bar, carried out on a stretcher.
I'm not sure what that means, but go ahead. No.
Sure you don't. Whereas if you just say, "I'd like to buy you a drink," that one drink you have added value, and you've kind of paid for 5 minutes of their time.
Right.
And you can buy them another drink, you can invite them out to coffee, and each step of that is just asking just a little bit. So if you're asking for the huge jump, I think the standard package that I have for my marketing service is like $5,000, and that can be a big leap. But if you're adding value, then somebody can feel trustworthy that you're worth $5,000. You don't ever ask for that up front. You say, "Here, I've got some other services, I have some free value," or "Let's spend an hour. Let's just sit down and have coffee and have that one-on-one and get to know each other, and let me see what you need and what I need and how we even mesh." But when you go at a client or even an employee and you're like, just very brute, like, "This is what I want, this is what I need," and you pay me. I don't think it works very well. You've now tried to jump the gun and propose to them or ask them to sleep with you in the business sense of the word.
Well, and in fact, that's interesting, because even if I think of a number of people that have been looking for jobs or looking for employment opportunities, right? And they're going, and I always say, getting on board with a company is a lot like entering into a long-term relationship as well. So they say, okay, so at what point do I ask them how much money I'm going to make? And the reality of it is not until the last point. And the thing is, if that's and I always say this, if that's your focus, your primary focus, and that's all you're thinking about when you're entering into this job interview, guess what? You won't get the job, most likely, because that's going to come across all the way through the interview process, even if you never say it, if that's all you're thinking. So you really have to be thinking about the other person in a way as, why would they want to have a relationship with me?
Yep.
What is it that, what is it in the long term that is going to be the benefit to them?
And it's different.
For me, and it's different necessarily, and I'm going to be also trying to understand how my side of the relationship is sustained. But again, it's all about focus, and that's why this is so important to really think about not only what your client looks like, what your ideal client looks like, but what is the audience and what is the value that's going to be created in the relationship that you have with them over the course of this journey, with them as a client or as a tribe member of any role in your tribe. And those roles change. The thing is, if your message,
and their wants change,
because they're attracted, generally going to be attracted to you by where you're going, not where you are. Where you are is kind of like the price of admission, but if they're going to hang with you on the journey, it's going to be where you're going. I mean, most companies, the value, if you look at their stock value in the company, I mean, just for an example, isn't the value of their assets. Although a lot of the financial guys will tell you the future value is where the big multiples. I mean, where Google didn't make a dime for a lot of years, but yet they were valued many times.
But they built up their users
because
and
there was
cornered the users.
Right, and there was an expectation of future value there that they were given today.
Almost when we look at like pay-per-click ads on a search engine platform, and I look at someone like my husband's, that is a huge portion of his business. Google is like 90% of the clicks. Right. We pay for Google, we pay for Yahoo, we pay for Bing, which are the three big ones, and it's pretty much almost all the way across the board Google. And Google lost all those money those years, but by the time they had all the users on board, we don't say go search engine it, we say go Google it.
Go Google it, yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. So getting that market share, being clear on what that market and that tribe looks like,
and adding value.
Let's see what Nicolette says. Having that open issue leading helps you find their pain.
It does. That is when I talk to clients and I'm walking them through how to build an official client avatar for their marketing plan. There's 3 ways to do it. You can guess.
Right.
If you've been that client before, that's helpful, but it's still not the same. You can just research it, which I still don't think it's the same. And I always advocate the best way. Take a couple $100s and take your top 3 clients out to lunch, like a nice one. Take them to Three Forks, to Bob's, to 560. Those are all Dallas places, but Dallas girl. Sit down with them for 3 hours.
Right.
And just get to know them and ask them a trillion questions.
Right.
I think I have like a 20-page list I go down to that includes everything to what movies do they watch.
Sure.
Somebody who's watching, I don't know, Vin Diesel action flicks versus, thoughtful documentaries on the prison system will tell you a lot about a person. Or, one guy I sat down with for
you run across any guys that watch Bridget Jones' Diary or Baby or anything like that?
Chris Matthews just got made fun of on the HBO show last week today.
Yeah.
I can't remember the host, because his favorite show is like Love Actually, and they show it in like 50 different clips of him saying, well, in this one scene in my favorite movie, Love Actually. So, you never know what you're getting.
So it could be, yeah, so okay, there are guys. I was just wondering if they're,
But there has to be a reason that he likes that. And I mean, that goes back to, the marketing side too, that can help you marketing and targeting. But, even on my question, if I have someone else fill out the questionnaire themselves, it's never the same as sitting down with them for a few hours. Because, I had an older gentleman sitting down talking about oil pan magnet, and he services hundreds of vehicles at the company he's with. And, when I asked him what his fears, he's like, I don't have any. Typical guy, right? But then you learn that he spent decades working for a government to get a pension that he was promised. And then the recession happened. Not only did he lose his job, but they used bankruptcy in that California municipality to ditch his pension. So now he had nothing. all those years of service and he got nothing. Nothing is promised, but that was while he was still working. And if you can understand that about your clients, why they're even getting up and going to work.
But also help you understand when you come to them with new opportunities, what are those past
that is a true pain
barriers
point.
that,
So if you can find a way to reach out to that client and help him with that pain point, you are his new best friend and partner. That is Anita joining. That is my aunt.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey,
She's
Aunt Anita.
getting to enjoy Taos. We're nearby, and I bet they have lots of snow. And then Stacy, I went to high school with. Hi, Stacy. We are actually just wrapping up. This is the day 8 of the Vision Challenge now.
So we're going to do 2 more days.
Sorta. We're going to end up
Thursday
having
and
2 more
Friday,
extra.
and then we're going to do at
extras.
least one on a couple of bonus days, probably on Monday and Tuesday of next week, right?
Just to help you
Yeah.
package it up and tie it with a pretty bow.
Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, hopefully we'll give you some things to do that will tide you over until we start this, start another round of this in January for the.
I think we're doing it again in
December,
January. Bigger though.
Yeah, and we're talking about how do we, I think we mentioned yesterday, how do we focus on the journey so far, and how to kind of reset and launch 2017 in a way that's going to be really
productive.
Yeah, and allow you to hit the ground running. I mean, if you got clarity on that dream story, if you want to get to that future state, now you know what it looks like. Do you want to get there slow or fast?
I prefer it over New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
Goals tend to last longer and get you a little further than just a resolution that you quit in February or the end of January.
No, I think the idea will be to have some real clarity, some real documentation, and some real plans to go along with how do we get there in a time frame that's going to be more palatable than someday, right? Because that's where the dream.
Well, no,
that's where the dream
done this
stories
for corporations.
Right.
What's the timeline then? They get, and did you say like it's a year or 2?
90 days, the normal targeted time frame for what we call ultimately, once you get through kind of this stage where you really have some degree of clarity, it's usually, and this is really Woody's timeline, I have to give credit where credit's due. It's when, it's really a 90-day to 12-month usually, that kind of window. 12-month is the outside for most. Now there's a really big one in the healthcare space that we're doing has a 2020 timeline. So that's a little longer than a year.
What is that, 4 years?
Yeah, but that's not that long
5 years?
when the dream is to transform healthcare, not just healthcare
Globally.
Yeah. So I mean that dream is very large, but
a lot of stakeholders to align.
Absolutely, and that's really the key is we have clarity, and you can have clarity, but then what does the journey look like? The transformation journey where you literally have the marketplace demanding what you're dreaming is possible, rather than just you out there trying to push your dream upon other people.
Yeah.
So you get alignment.
Plus regulation.
Yeah, you get alignment not only with your team, your partners, your family, everybody else, but then the entire world or the entire marketplace is demanding your dream.
Right.
They're saying not only do we align with it, but we want what you have
and
to
we
sell.
need it.
It's kind of like when Uber came along. Now everybody's demanding shared ride, whereas they didn't even know what it was. Or when Google came along, or any of these Facebook. I mean, before anybody knew that was a thing. Now it's required. I mean, so that's what. If anything were possible, I would like the world lined up at my door, wanting the value that I can provide.
That's a big dream.
Right?
Big dream.
But I think most people would like that, right? I don't want to have to go out and look for the people. They're all looking for me. The market is demanding.
Be the flame, not the moth.
Right. I like that. That's good. Anyway, we could do this all day, but we want to let you guys get back to your day. You can watch this again. It'll be out on Business Growth Network, and you can watch actually some of the sessions that we've done before this. This is day 8, so there's 7 others besides this one out there, and there'll be a few more.
Very good. Well, have a great day and take some time to catch up. I think 4 people are right on time, and then everyone's like, I'm behind. Don't feel bad, just catch up, and you can check the videos out as you go. So have a great day. Bye.
Yeah, don't be afraid of moving slow, just be afraid of standing still.
Bye, Nicolette, Anita,
Bye.
Stacy.
Good seeing everybody.